Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Shri Srimad Abhay Charam Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Nama Acharya Shri Rasta ki Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Arvita Gadadhara Shri Vas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Radha Kun Shyamakund Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mayapur धाम की, गंगा माई की, यमुना माई की, तुलसी देवी की, भक्ति देवी की, समावेत भक्त वृंद की, जय निताय गौर परमानंद. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories are glories to Sri Gunshi Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Gauranga. Hare Krishna. So, how is the parikrama? Haribol! Haribol! Very nice. So today, then we were visiting some very important places, and we were already hearing some pastimes. So maybe before then we get more into maybe some pastimes, then we can just maybe recollect then what is the meaning of the parikrama. Why are we here? What are we doing here? What we should do here? So we are on which parikrama? Haribol. So we are circumambulating the 9 deeps of Navadvip. And while we are walking on the parikrama, then we should be very carefully now conscious that we are doing it as a service to the Lord. We should be taking advantage of the association with the senior devotees, association with the friends. We should be taking advantage of then performing devotional service. We should be taking advantage of singing the kirtan. And while doing so, then that will increase our consciousness. That will elevate our consciousness. Ultimately, and we want to become purely Krishna conscious. And that happens by practicing devotional service. So these are the most important activities. How to become Krishna conscious. So the parikrama, and this is one of the ways how we can do. Because on the parikrama, and okay, like that, we have the processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanevaranam. Now, if we look into it, so all these processes can be performed on the parikrama. So we can be hearing about Krishna. We can be hearing the kirtan. We can be singing. We can be talking about Krishna. And we can always remember. We can serve Krishna directly. We can serve the devotees, which we also serve Krishna. We can worship Krishna. We can do No, all the activities, everything, and therefore we can, at the end of the parikrama, we can be fully surrendered. We can come to the stage of Atma-nivaranam. And this is the purpose. That's what we want to do. So, how we come to it, how we develop the desire, how we develop the sincerity, it's all by the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of the Vaishnavas. So while we are walking on the parikrama, then we should be constantly praying to the Lord. We should be praying to the Lord that, please, my dear Lord, then give me the ability that I can always remember you, that I can always serve you. And then this parikrama, when we walk and we perform austerities, we do so many things, walking in the heat. Many walk barefoot. Then sometimes prasad is there on time, sometimes late. Sometimes no, the prasad is more opulent, sometimes it's very simple. It's austerity. But why do we do the austerity? The austerity is done to please the Lord. But how does the austerity please the Lord? What is behind? It's not the austerity necessarily which is directly pleasing, but we are doing the austerity because we want to simply remember the Lord only. So we go, we take any opportunity, and therefore, then the mercy of the Vaishnavas, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, then we are able to come to the realization. What is the realization? The realization is then to develop the consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So here we are in the land of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here we want to always remember Gauranga. And therefore, this parikrama is excellent tool how we can do that. So now, to recollect, then now today's activities, what we when we were going, we were seeing the beautiful place of Champahati. Then we were seeing the Samudragar, and we were hearing many pastimes about Gaur Gadadhar. So now we can recollect that. We can again remember Lord Gadadhar. We can remember pastimes of Lord Gauranga, and then with that, then try to understand the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So maybe what I'll do, I will read some passages from Chaitanya Charitamrita, because there are some very nice, very wonderful pastimes which we can all hear, we can all try to realize. Maharaj was talking about how Lord Gadadhar and Lord Gauranga were inseparable. Lord Gadadhar, then he was, well, Gadadhar, he was little younger. He was 1 year younger than Gauranga, but they were very, very close friends. And Gadadhar, and also the mothers, the mother of Gadadhar, mother of Gauranga, they were like sisters, always together. So it were like they were like one family. And then therefore they were doing everything together. And even though then Gadadhar and Goranga, they were just completely different in mentality. And Lord Gadadhar, then he was very calm, he was very sober. But then Nimai, then he was very naughty. He was naughty boy, always up to some mischief. And then Nimai, he would many times harass Gadadhar. But he would never leave him. Gadadhar would never leave. He would always be together. The love between then Gauranga and Gadadhar was absolute. So then, some pastimes then from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the emotions and expressions of Pandita Gadadhar are not possible to describe. Another name of Lord Gauranga is the Lord of the life of Gadadhar. Who can understand what mercy has been bestowed upon him? Their glories are sung by everyone as Gadai Gauranga. During that time, when Sri Ishwarpuri was present for a few months in Navadvip at the house of Sri Gopinath Acharya, he taught Gadadhar from the book he had composed, Sri Krishna Lilamrita. Gadadhar was from his very childhood very serene, patient, calm, quiet, fond of solitude, and very renounced. Nimai Pandit, during the time of his precocious youth, would ask his fellow students meaningless, fallacious questions in logic. Gadadhar, however, was not especially fond of his pastime, and therefore he sometimes used to remain at some distance from Nimai. But Nimai wouldn't allow him to get away. He would tell him, Gadadhar, in a very short time I'll become such a Vaishnava that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva themselves will come to my door. Sri Gadadhar Pandit was very affectionate towards Mukunda Datta. Whenever any Vaishnava came to Navadvip, Mukunda would inform Gadadhar, and there they would both go to have darshan. One time, Pundarik Vidyanidhi came to Chattagram to Navadvip, and Mukunda invited Gadadhar to come along and meet him. Gadadhar was very excited to meet such a Vaishnava, and thus the two of them happily set out together to take advantage of Sadhu Sangha with the famous Pundarik Vidyanidhi. However, when Gadadhar saw that Pundarik Vidyanidhi dressed and acted like a wealthy materialist, he lost whatever reverence he had previously felt even before speaking with him. When they arrived, so actually Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he was seated on a like a throne, and he had some ladies were there, somebody was fanning him, so he looked very opulent. He was very like Vishai. He looked like very materialistic. So that's when Gadadhar, now seeing him, how he's enjoying, that he felt, how can that be a Vaishnava? He is just an enjoyer. That cannot be a great Vaishnava. But he was thinking in their mind. But there was no Mukunda Datta. Okay, I'll continue reading. However, Mukunda knew the real character of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he could also sense the doubts in the mind of Garadhara Pandit. Thus, he recited some shlokas from the Srimad Bhagavatam in a very sweet voice. When Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard his beautiful recitation of shlokas, in a fit of ecstasy, he began to cry while calling, Krishna, Krishna, and finally fainted dead away on the floor. Gadadhar now felt very remorseful in his mind. So the situation is, he is thinking, what kind of Vaishnava is he? He is just enjoying. He is taking advantage. But then, hearing the shlokas from Bhagavatam, from Gopi Gita, he immediately got into a trance and was rolling on the ground. And he fainted. So then, Gadadhara Pandit, now seeing that, wow, okay, I think I did some offense, because I was thinking that he is not a great Vaishnava, but I see how great Vaishnava he is. So, therefore, Gadadhar felt very remorseful. He thought to himself, because I have ignorantly considered this highly advanced soul to be an ordinary materialist, what an offense I have committed. In order that I may be saved from a reaction of this offense, I think the only solution is to accept initiation from him. And actually, then Pundarik Vidyanidhi, then he is Vrishabhanu Maharaj, and Gadadhara Pandit, now he is Radharani. So there is a natural relationship. So everything worked out as it was supposed to. Then Gadadhara Pandit, he submitted his proposal to Mukunda, who presented it to Pundarik Vidyanidhi with a full account of the Pandit's high qualifications. Hearing this proposal, Pundarik became very happy and saying, Providence has bestowed upon me a great jewel. Certainly I will accept him. You shouldn't have any doubt about that. It is the result of many lifetimes of good fortune that one gets disciple like this. On an auspicious day, Sri Gadadhar received the divine mantra from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So this was from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, upon going to Gaya Dham, first began to manifest Krishna Prema. There he enacted the pastime of accepting the shelter of Sri Ishvara Puri. After returning to his house, he began to exhibit a new life. Day and night he floated in the ocean of love of Krishna. Gadadhar, upon seeing the Lord showing of tears in love for Krishna, he began also to cry in ecstatic love. From this time, Gadadhar Pandit was always at Mahaprabhu's side. One day, Sri Gadadhar brought some pen to Sri Gauranga, who, in exuberance of emotion, asked him, Gadadhar, where is that beautiful blackish boy who is dressed in yellow garments? After asking this, he began to shed tears. Gadadhar could not immediately think of what to say. He finally respectfully suggested, "He is in your heart." Hearing this, Mahaprabhu began to tear at his chest with the nails, but Gadadhar quickly grabbed his hands. "Prabhu," said to him, "Gadadhar, let go of my hands. I cannot remain a moment not seeing Krishna." And Gadadhar replied, "Just try to be a little patient and calm yourself. Krishna will come any minute now." Hearing this, Mahaprabhu became somewhat composed. Sachimata heard all this from a distance and then came running there. Being very pleased with Gadadhar, she declared, "Though he is just a boy, he is very intelligent. I am frightened to go before my son when he is in these moods, but Gadadhar has very cleverly pacified him." Sachimata told Gadadhar, "Gadadhar, you must please remain with Nimai, always. If you stay with him, then I won't have to worry." And one day, Sri Gadadhar, having heard that Mahaprabhu will speak Krishna Katha at Shuklambara Brahmachari's house, went there and sat down inside. Meanwhile, Mahaprabhu arrived outside on the veranda and began to speak about Krishna to an audience of devotees there. Mahaprabhu became totally absorbed in the ecstasy, Krishna Prema, which quickly spread to the assembly of devotees. For some time, they continued to taste the mellows of love of Krishna together, and then becalmed themselves. Gadadhar, however, couldn't restrain his ecstasy. With his head bowed down, he continued to cry very loudly. Hearing his pitiful sobbing, Mahaprabhu inquired, "Who is crying within the room?" Shuklambaram Brahmachari replied, "You, Gadadhar." Mahaprabhu exclaimed, "Gadadhar, you are so pious and virtuous. Since your very childhood, you were so devoted to Krishna. My life has been wasted. Due to my previous evil activities, I cannot get the association of my Lord of my life, Shri Krishna." Saying this, Prabhu embraced Gadadhar in great love. When Mahaprabhu began his pastimes in Navadvip, Gadadhar was his chief companion. Radha Krishna of Vraj are now sporting on the banks of the Ganga as Gadai Gauranga. And the cowherd boy friends of Vraja are assisting in his pastimes of Kirtana. One day, after roaming through the town of Navadvip, Mahaprabhu came to a forest and seated himself there. Then he began to remember his pastimes in Vraja. Mukunda began to sing the Purvavag songs in a very sweet voice, while Gadadhar collected some flowers from that forest and after stringing a garland, placed it on Prabhu's neck. Previously, in that way that Sri Radha used to decorate Sri Krishna, Gadadhar began to dress Prabhu in that exact same manner. Some were singing beautiful songs, while others began to dance in a very graceful style. Then Sri Gaura Sundara, taking Gadadhar by his side, seated himself on a dais at the base of one tree, while Advaita Acharya began to offer arati. Nityananda seated himself on Prabhu's right side, and Srivas Pandit began to decorate everyone with flower garlands. Narahari was fanning the divine couple with a whisk made from the tail hairs of forest cows. Shuklambar decorated them all with sandalwood paste, while Murari Gupta recited the Premadvani. Madhava, Vasudev, Purushottam, Vijaya, and Mukunda began to sing songs in the various ragas. So, and there is one I will read the translation of Gadadhar Ashtakam. It's a very beautiful song composed by Swarup Damodar. I worship the greatly learned and exalted spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, who appears very splendid, engaged in the Lord's devotional service. He always performs pastimes in Vraj, where he is very prominent among the gopis, who are very dear to Lord Hari. Lord Chaitanya, the son of Sachi, is the dear Lord of Gadadhar Prabhu, who is preaching the service of Radha and Krishna. I worship the great learned spiritual master, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu. He is expertly absorbed in meditation on the 9 rasas of devotional service, beginning with Ujjvala rasa, and he dances in the waves of the amazing ocean of devotional service to Lord Chaitanya. He preaches the path of Raganuga Bhakti, and he is a fit person to attain residence in the transcendental land of Braja. I worship the great learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, the best of those who are devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, the son of Sachi Devi. Offer respectful obeisances to him and treat him with great importance, and he is very dear to Lord Krishna, who is seated in the middle of the lotus flower, which is his heart, assuming his golden form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He preaches that Lord Mukunda has assumed the golden form of Lord Chaitanya, and he returns the living entities to their constitutional position as servant of the Lord. I worship the great learned and exalted spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu. It is only because of him that the truth of the exalted devotional service performed by the intimate associates of Krishna in the forest and groves of Vrindavan has been revealed. He is preaching the ecstatic love attained by the gopis, and he is indeed a personification of the mellows of devotional service. The saintly devotees take shelter of his lotus feet, and he teaches the truth of spiritual life to the living entities. I worship the great learned spiritual master, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu. He is very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is as if he had sprouted from the manifestation of the Lord's ecstatic love. He is always adorned with the garments of ecstatic love of Godhead, and he delights Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by arousing in the Lord the ecstatic emotional love experience by the gopis of Braja. I worship the greatly learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, who expands the mellows of devotional service and whose lotus feet are worshipped by the kings of the Brahmanas. Among his confidential associates, he reveals his actual form as Srimati Radharani. He distributes the nectar of the ecstatic mellows of the gopis' conjugal love, strictly following the instructions of all the devotional scriptures. I worship the great learned spiritual master, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu. With delight, he is giving the emotional service devotional service of Lord Chaitanya, which he reveals the nectarian ocean of most exalted mellows of devotional service, along with the nectar flowing from the lotus feet of the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani, who is the most dear to Krishna. Gadadhar Prabhu is decorated with the 8 transcendental ecstatic symptoms of Sattvika Bhava, and he is distributing devotional service to his worshipable Lord Krishna. I worship the great learned spiritual master, Srila Gadadhar Prabhu. Even a conditioned soul whose mind becomes anointed by the colorful waves of spontaneous devotional service, as delineated by Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, quickly attains the highest level of devotional service. He becomes like a maiden bumblebee whose mind is anointed with the mellow of Ujjvala Rasa. These 8 verses glorifying Sri Gadadhar Prabhu distribute the nectar of the most exalted mellow of devotional service, and they are like a festival for the gopis of Braja. If one regularly reads these verses and serves the lotus feet of Srila Gadadhar Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Srimati Radharani, then he will become qualified to attain the jewel of pure devotional service for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, the son of Sachi Devi. So, now we hear some pastimes, and now we can contemplate. When we hear and we contemplate, then we can come to realization. In Vedic scriptures, now it's the process of getting realization is Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. So we should also apply it here. Shravanam means hearing, absorbing. Mananam, that means contemplation, deliberation, applying it. How we do it. So we hear how the devotees, how affectionate they are towards the Lord, how much love they have for Him, how they serve Him. We should attempt to follow in their footsteps. We should also see now how we can serve. For example, then we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita the description of how prasad is being served. How when the devotees sit down, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he in his ecstasy, he starts going and serving prasadam to the devotees. But as he is in ecstasy, he serves huge amount of prasad. So in that time, Saru Damodar, okay, we will serve. You sit, please, you sit, my dear Lord. And the prasadam is all about just association. Bhunkte bhojayate. Serving and accepting prasad. Wonderful association, wonderful experience. That experience is what is the most important. Because the experience, it creates a samskara. Samskara is something which leads us to realization. The samskara is what helps us to change the consciousness. So, if we practice what we hear, if we follow and apply it in our daily life, then we can get the realization and we can properly apply it in our life. So now we are walking the parikrama. We will be walking for another few days. After that, there will be some festival. We will continue. There will be Gara Purnima, and after that, everybody goes home. But what do? The festival does not end there. The festival continues as long as you are carrying it with you. We can always having the experience associating with the devotees, having the experience seeing Gaura Purnima. We can perform services. These experiences can lead us to the realization. And that realization nobody can take from us. So we can, within the next few days, we can completely elevate our consciousness to the highest level. Anandamaya. That's the top level of Krishna consciousness. So this we can do if we properly apply ourselves and do desire that. The only qualification what decides then whether we become Krishna conscious, we will be able to realize it or not, it depends on our desire. We are in the Dham. We are in the association of devotees. We see the holy places. We are able to perform devotional service. Everything is set. Everything is perfectly auspicious. But is it having effect on us? Less or more? Somebody may be less, somebody may be more. Why is that? It's the desire. If you want to experience that, if you want to become fully surrendered, so when we finish the parikrama, then come again to the center island, Antardvip. That means that's a dweep of the process Atmanivarana. So set the mind that by the time of the parikrama, then you develop the desire, now I want to be fully surrendered. And it's possible. Nothing can stop you. Because everything, all the elements which need to be there, they are there. But sometimes we become familiar, overly familiar, too much, and we take things for granted. And this is what stops us from getting the deepest realizations. So let us develop the desire by association, by prayers. Try to pray to the Lord to give you the strength. You can develop the desire. The desire to be able to fully surrender to Him. And He will grant it. He will give that. If our desire is sincere, we can achieve that. So that we can see as the ultimate goal what it is being in association, being in the holy dham, being on the parikrama. And therefore, then we should take advantage. It should not be we are coming here not just to have nice time. Of course we have nice time. But different people, they may define nice time differently. For devotees, nice time is to be able to be always Krishna conscious. So we should pray for that. We should pray that we are able to understand these pastimes, that we are able to eventually see the pastimes. We are in the dham. We are in Navadvip. And these pastimes happen. So we can be able to see the pastimes if we properly desire, if we properly perform the devotional activities. So that's the opportunity. Everybody has the opportunity to realize that. So let's not lose it. We can come to the highest level of consciousness at this very moment. So I pray that all the devotees will be able to achieve that, because this is the greatest boon of Krishna consciousness. This is the greatest boon of the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what Srila Prabhupada gave us, the opportunities to become absolutely surrendered to Krishna within one lifetime. There is nothing greater than this. So we should try to contemplate how fortunate we are that we had come in touch with the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through Srila Prabhupada. And we see now, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, how devotees are getting together and how devotees are cooperating, associating, encouraging each other. And this is the very core of the ability to develop the Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes, I think this will be loud. Actually, when we go the parikrama, so circumambulating, then all 9 services should be involved. Sometimes one may be more prominent, but it's not one single. When we go, we should be hearing, we should be singing kirtan, Krishna Katha. We should be contemplating, remembering. We should be serving the Lord. So all the activities should be involved while we are doing parikrama. That's the greatness of parikrama. When we walk, but we should not be thinking that by walking, okay, I'm just walking. There should be the association. Should be looking for service. Should be looking for opportunities to surrender to the Lord. Because each service we do then has all these aspects. Sometimes some are more prominent, some less. But if we are seeing it, it's just one thing, or we may also see, I just walk for health. Yeah. So okay, I walk. I had seen people doing Govardhan Parikrama, jogging. Okay, but no, you may get some benefit, but what benefit? If you now go with the mentality of that you are doing it for your own health and that's why you go around Govardhan, something will be there. But how much more realization you do if you are walking about Govardhan, to please Krishna, in the humble state of mind, that you are doing it as a service. So again, all the activities can be present. When we take prasadam, how many times do we always think of Krishna when we eat prasad? Or it's, oh, I'm hungry, I just fill up my stomach. So we have to try to be more and more conscious that we are not just doing that one physical activity. We are, when we take prasad, it's not eating food, it's accepting prasadam. So again, we can hear, we can speak, we can remember all the activities. And any devotional activity, if you look at it, it has all the aspects. Like for example, okay, we go for Mangalarati, right? Now, there are many devotees, and they are singing. There's one leader, no, he leads, others are singing. Okay. Then, and one does the puja. So now sometimes the devotees, they think, oh, the pujari, he is the one who gets all the mercy. Or, okay, the one who is singing, he gets the mercy. What am I getting? But it's not like that. It's a devotional service and everybody does some aspects. So the pujari, no, he performs the puja. So he does the archanam. But then the other devotees, they hear and they sing. Together, it creates the complete devotional service. The Lord is not very happy if the arati is done without the devotees being present. He likes the devotees to be present. So therefore, everybody, even the one single devotee in the crowd, just because he sings, he enhances the devotion being offered to the Lord. So same for the walking. So we walk, and even one single devotee now increases by his consciousness the devotion being offered to the Lord. how the consciousness works is very important to know. See, from Bhagavatam, then we hear about Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, then he was approaching the Lord. Why? Because he had some material desires. He wanted to get revenge on his stepmother, and then he wanted to also show his father that no, he can be better. But it was out of anger. The fortunate thing happened to him that he met Narada Muni. And he instructed him, worship Krishna, worship the Lord. Just chant Om Namo Narayanaya. Okay, fine. So he does that. Now, the thing which is relevant, Dhruva Maharaj, he was fully absorbed on the mantra. And as he was absorbed, then he gave up eating, he gave up drinking, he gave up breathing. He was just fully absorbed. And as he was absorbed, he was conscious of the Lord. And his consciousness spread throughout the universe. And as it spread throughout the universe, because he was fully absorbed and not breathing, then everybody was suffocating. Everybody was affected by one person. The consciousness of one person can affect everyone. And that's what happened Srila Prabhupada. Just one person. His consciousness affected the whole world. So here, if we have a devotees who are conscious, who want to be Krishna conscious, who have the desire that affects everyone, that it develops enthusiasm, utsaha, and that enthusiasm is contagious. When you see somebody enthusiastically sing, you start singing, dancing. That's how it's contagious. So that's the process. It just works like a chain reaction. And that gives the realizations. So we should try to think about it not through those angles. Not that I'm walking. Yes, I am walking, but I am walking to please the Lord. How I can please Him? The unlimited ways. Yes? Hare Krishna. Okay. There's a question. How to develop positive desire towards devotional service while we have while we are in a conditioned stage. The most effective and the most important way how to is association. Association with the Vaishnavas. And there are association has two aspects. Every association. One aspect is to give association, one is to take association. So when we have the opportunity to get association from somebody senior, we should do that. But when we get realization, whatever we get, gyan, vigyan, from that association, then we should be more than willingly try to give the association to those who are eager. By hearing something, then we get some gyan, we get the knowledge. But the realization, vigyan, comes when we apply the knowledge. We have to contemplate and apply it. And that happens when we share our realizations, share what we have with others. So that's how anyone can be developing his Krishna consciousness. From conditioned state, very easily comes above the conditioning. Hare Krishna. How to develop the attitude of seeing Dham through ears. Okay? Shravanam, hearing the pastimes with the desire to realize the pastimes, then purifies the heart. When we work on the desire to purify the heart, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, remove the anarthas from the heart, then we are able to realize the pastimes. So hearing the pastime, it gives us the strong realization of the pastime. Same like happened to Pundarik Vidyanidhi. What happened to him? No. Mukunda Datta just chanted some verses. He heard the verses and immediately he was absorbed in the pastime. He saw the pastime, and by seeing the pastime, he fainted. Because there are no anarthas in his heart. So, by working through the devotional service to remove the anarthas, then we will be able to realize the pastimes through our ears. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Gaurnitai ki, Jai Shri Gaur Gadadhar ki, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Pramanande.